Hey guys, and welcome to my video review for Vaporum on PS4. If you would like to check out any other reviews or opinion pieces, be sure to check cultureofgaming.com. Thank you and enjoy the video. Vaporum is a steampunk dungeon crawler heavily inspired by games like Eye of the Beholder. The gameplay takes place on a tile system that dictates how the player can move. Each step moves one tile at a time. This means if the player is trapped in a corner, there's no walking around until the obstacle is taken care of. The gameplay features first-person real-time combat with puzzle solving and exploration elements. It originally released September 28th, 2017 on the PC, but today it released for PS4, Xbox One, and the Nintendo Switch. For someone whose only experience with dungeon crawlers before this was Diablo 3, it took me quite a bit to get used to the style this game wanted me to play. I love action-adventure games with puzzles in them, kind of like The Legend of Zelda, but with the tile system here, it really changed up what I knew about the genre. The tile system itself is very restricting, and in some ways I kind of like the way it is, but I definitely would not want it in many games. Within the first few levels, I had to turn the difficulty from normal to easy because I felt like I was dying too much and I wanted to have this review done on time. Unless you played many of these games back in the past, I would probably recommend you starting out on the same option. I found it much more enjoyable in combat when I felt like I had a chance to win. Vaporum has pushed me to want to explore more dungeon crawler games. That's a hard thing to do for someone with little to no experience with a genre, and having to put in over 10 hours in one weekend to review a game, that's just pretty amazing, really. In my mind, Fatbot Games has absolutely hit the ball out of the park on this game. Early in the game, Marcus finds the rig suits. There's a room with 4 different suits that allow for many different playstyles. The one I chose gave my suit more toughness, and had a chance to absorb attacks. There were others that added the combat capabilities and tech which acted as the abilities I would get to use later on. The suit choice really allows you to choose how you want to play the game, and to help you decide how you want to make your Marcus. Fumium is the experience points of this game and are gained from defeating enemies or finding vials of it in the world. When you level up, your health and energy are instantly refilled and you gain 1 point for enhancing your stats. This can include more damage with certain weapons, better accuracy while dual wielding, and many others. In RPGs, I tend to try and make balanced characters, but in this case, I feel this really held me back in the early stages of the game when I was playing on normal. Looking back on it, if I had focused on certain areas of the game that would have been more beneficial to me, I would have been able to progress much easier because of my playstyle. This is purely on me, and if you end up playing the game, I definitely recommend not doing the same mistake I did. One section of the game I truly enjoyed was having all of your armor and weapons stripped from you so you can wear a hazmat suit to get through a corridor. Here you have to use the environment to your strength to take out enemies, and I found this section very fun and engaging, even though I was not running up on them and beating them with a mace like in the rest of the game. Sadly, the environment is underutilized for the rest of the game in combat. As I said before, I had to deal with quite a bit of a learning curve when starting out Vaporum. Both bumper buttons play as your hands. You can equip an assortment of guns, shields, bladed or blunt weapons, and you can quickly switch between 2 sets of those weapons on the fly by pressing in the right stick. I love this. Each weapon has its own special use, and changing them in and out was some of the best way to figure out how to progress in the beginning for me. Bladed weapons are better against flesh, while blunted weapons are better against machines. Using this to meet the situation added a new layer of strategy to the game. Another aspect of the weapons are the bonuses they provide if you do the exploration to find the proper equipment. Early in the game, I had found a crowbar that had a chance to stun spider enemies. Combined with specific gloves, its cooldown would be decreased. The best weapons are found throughout the game while exploring, and looking for secrets that are very well hidden are worth the time to search for them. Using 2 hands allows for dual wielding weapons, which allows you to uptick your damage output while sacrificing accuracy. The added chance of missing attacks was infuriating early in the game to me. After leveling up, this does get better, but after missing so many attacks with enemies standing right in front of me, I started resorting to using a shield in one hand to block some damage. Another aspect to the combat is the Powerup Add-Ons for your rig suit. There are quite a variety of these, and they all affect Marcus and his enemies differently. Many of these are also enemy attacks. For example, acid attacks reduce healing while dealing damage when the target is in the splash area. All of the early acid enemies destroyed me early on in the game. They were the biggest reason I ended up switching to easy so early. They surround you, and you have to make split-second decisions on movements and attacks while keeping in mind your cooldowns, your health, while also having the reduced healing, energy, and the location of any other enemies in the room. It was a very daunting task that led me cursing to myself a few times. Other special attacks include lightning-based attacks that reduce damage, fire attacks, health stealing, increased melee speed, and increased defense or shields. Multiple can be equipped at a time, and using them takes up energy that slowly refills. Before running into a room full of enemies, it's best to have a game plan down for how you're going to survive, not just necessarily how you're going to kill the opponent. Vaporum is filled with many different puzzles, which almost never get too frustrating. But the solutions are never easy handouts. With no description of what you're supposed to do unless you read the notes in the level, you find that one level wants you to find 4 series of books of 3 and put them in their specific shelves to unlock a room to progress. Pulling levers and switches to make the floors and doors open and close the way you need them were always mind benders of figuring out the just right way to do things in the game. One gripe I do have with the puzzles is that there are too many box puzzles. These require you to push and pull large boxes in the right order so you can reach items or make successful pathways across death pits. I was not a fan because of the perspective you have when doing these puzzles leads to a lot of running back and forth and slow turning to figure out what it is you're even supposed to be doing. Maybe about half the amount of box puzzles replaced with more unique challenges would have made this an even better experience. Vaporum takes place on a small island in the middle of the sea. When the game starts up, the player's character Marcus has shipwrecked onto this island with no recollection of who he is. A giant tower called the Ark's Vaporum appears that he enters. The place seems familiar, and as he ventures towards the top of the tower, he starts recollecting his memories and his connections to the place while battling the harsh creatures and machines within the tower. The Amnesia storyline does not play out too well in my opinion. Marcus figures out who he is and what he's fighting for about halfway through the game, but there's never any real payoff to it. The ending also tries to give a bit of a twist that really is not that surprising and features a character that really has not been built up successfully over the course of the game. The storytelling for the main story may be lackluster, but I really enjoyed the side stories you find in the scattered notes, voice recordings, and environment clues throughout the game. For the notes, it is completely up to the player if they want to learn more about the scientists that used to inhabit the tower. The different personalities and the things they would do are put on display brilliantly and push me to want to find out more about them. The main story and voice recordings are completely voice acted and done very well. Marcus has his moments at times, but the voice actor overall did a very solid job of making this character with amnesia seem believable. The tower in Vaporum is incredibly dark in the beginning, a little too dark to be honest. When first entering the tower, there's barely any light at all. The first box that I had to shove forward, I thought I was being put into a loading screen or something because my screen just went completely black. I stood there doing nothing for about 20 seconds before I finally turned and saw all I had done was take a step forward. You quickly equip a suit that will always have a flashlight on in front of you, which does help, but I still found the first few levels at times annoyances even though I was enjoying the game. One small room in the early game has the player moving boxes to reach a switch so they can progress. I spent at least 45 minutes on this one room because it was so hard to see my surroundings. There's not much guidance on what you need to move and it was very frustrating. As you move up levels, more lights are turned on and it's easier to see things. Besides the pitch black darkness in the first 3 or 4 levels, I really enjoyed the steampunk setting. The many machines you have to navigate around do not serve as anything more than walls, but they do make the world feel a little more interesting. I'm not sure how big of a team Fatbot Games are, but they've impressed me with Vaporum. It's a very good looking indie game. Tiles and the same wall patterns are not hard to duplicate throughout each level, but I was very impressed with how the creatures that inhabit the world look. Early game, you're attacked by many mechanized spiders and mutated cockroaches because scientists thought it was a good idea. They all look creepy and combined with the dark atmosphere and difficulty I was having early on, got a few jumps out of me. Besides the bugs, there are also drones, big guys with shotguns, flamethrowers or sledgehammers, and towards the end you'll even encounter zombie-like enemies. There are quite a few variations on the enemies as well. You have your acid and electric variants, but there are also bigger cockroaches that have increased armor and can heal themselves. And just overall, the large variety of enemies helps keep the gameplay fresh throughout the game, and all of them have great designs behind them. In conclusion, Vaporum was an absolute surprise joy for me to play. When I first viewed the trailer for the game, I thought, okay, this looks decent, I'll give it a try. But after diving into the world's deep side stories and the fun combat and customization options, I found that this game really stands out. The creepy, dangerous enemies and mostly engaging puzzles make this game worth coming back to for the challenge. And even though the game may conclude on a weak boss fight and disappointing ending, Vaporum is a modern dungeon crawler that is doing something different, and not many games, AAA or indie, can say that nowadays. My final score for Vaporum is 8 out of 10. Hey guys, this is John Hansen with Culture of Gaming. Thanks so much for watching my video. Be sure to leave us a like if you liked the video, comment down below what you think on Vaporum, and subscribe to see any of our future videos. Like I also said before, you can check out cultureofgaming.com for some awesome written work. We've got opinions, reviews, about anything you can think of over there, so be sure to give the site a check. Thanks so much for watching.